So over the last week or so, there have been several bits of news that have come out around Nintendo's, we'll say, adjusted timeline behind the scenes for their next generation product. And I decided I would kind of wait a bit and maybe cover it over the weekend outside of Newswave, because things were sort of coming out every day, it felt like. And really, I can just kind of put it all together here and give some of my thoughts around Nintendo's plan seemingly going forward into now 2025. Because for this year anyway, for 2024, things are going to be kind of interesting to see them navigate. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe if you're new. So what ended up happening here was a report came out about a week or so ago from PH Brazil over on Twitter, and then it quickly circulated from there on the typical message boards that will usually argue back and forth for what's been now years around a new system from Nintendo with the hardware and release timing and different games that would come out for it. And from there, other outlets started picking it up and checking in with their own sources. And we got to a point where the whole thing went mainstream. Bloomberg decided to look into it, and then CNBC even covered that. And after Bloomberg really was able to corroborate it with their sources, we saw a pretty serious impact on Nintendo stock, as analysts then kind of doubled back a bit and said, okay, maybe that new system from Nintendo is not set up for release later on this year because of apparently some very recent adjustments. VGC did go a bit more in depth around the timeline of events here on their podcast recently, mostly describing these studios or partners receiving this information from Nintendo in like that December, January time period. So it was something that Nintendo seemed to be communicating over time, and that could be from just prioritization with certain partners or studios based on what they're working on. But this, of course, is all around reports. None of it comes directly from Nintendo, so I know there is kind of that grain of salt mentality, and people should keep that. But looking at the fact that Bloomberg kind of threw their hat in the ring, and we know Nintendo likes to respond to them if they're incorrect, and they haven't, kind of makes me think that what we're hearing right now is probably right. But just keep in mind, everything I'm saying here, put on the end of it if this is correct. So let's go through exactly where we are now with I guess the reveal of this new system, as a bunch of information just kind of flowed out throughout this past week. So starting with the original source, that being PH Brazil, and then all that was corroborated, they have a timeline of events set up as March for an Indie World, April for Nintendo Direct General or Mini, and then the Switch 2 reveal would be in June. Remember, there is no E3. There's a Summer Game Fest, but there's no E3, so Nintendo can pretty much do it whenever they want, whether it's a trailer drop or a press release, however they want to at least introduce it to us for the first time. And then I figure they would do a big blowout event later on. So if we had everything seemingly pushed roughly 3 months behind the scenes, we would have March showcase or March reveal in June. So probably a big event blowout in like the September or October time period. Think of what they did with the original Switch, where they got people up on stage and they did a whole thing there. That's kind of what I would expect with this one. But they do want to consider the fact that there will be partners and publishers who want to start talking about their own software releases for the new system, because even with the Switch, Nintendo put the code name out, NX, and we had Square Enix announcing like Dragon Quest for the NX years before the thing came out. So I do wonder if Nintendo would consider at least pushing a code name or some sort of information, just so that developers and publishers can at least talk about it in some general way, but it being more official than just throwing around the Switch 2 name. See, it's also important to note that GDC is going to be happening next month, and these developers are going to talk to each other, and most likely they'll talk to press, and information will get out there. Think about what happened at Gamescom, where all of a sudden we start hearing about how Nintendo was showcasing targeted hardware. It wasn't necessarily a development kit behind the scenes, but just targeted hardware, what they believe the Switch 2 will be capable of, where we hear about a Breath of the Wild demo that had no load times, and then we hear about the Matrix Awakens demo running on it. So it's possible that that kind of information, maybe at GDC, sort of gets out there, whether it is specifications because some of them have dev kits, or maybe even titles that they're working on. I mean, think about it this way. If Nintendo was planning on getting the system out holiday 2024 and now have to push into 2025, as apparently the earliest time we can expect a release might be in March, well, that certainly throws a bit of a monkey wrench in their plans. And now they're looking at 2024 as a very odd or interesting time to try to navigate, considering they will have to still have some sort of releases for their current system, the next system, and then also talk to these investors about what their plans are. There's a lot that kind of intertwines here, and the timing is going to be very, very difficult to make work. So if they're going to get in their fiscal year, it would come out no later than March 31st, 2025. And if it goes into March, I mean, it'd be 8 years since they released the original Switch in March of 2017. So that would technically line up nicely. But the thing with this is I don't actually think sales would necessarily plummet like off a cliff if they announce the next system. Specifically for software, you can make a case for hardware, but really there's a Switch Lite and there's like the Redbox Switch, and I think the new Switch or new Switch 2 system will just be more expensive than either of those. But if they say that this new system is backwards compatible, people will probably still continue to buy software all the way up until the new system comes out anyway. And right now, in like the twilight year of the current Switch with that install size, that's all Nintendo's really working to do, is just sell software, because that's where they make a bulk of their money. If you look at their current lineup for 2024, we have Princess Peach Showtime, which, hey, that's a brand new game that's coming out in March. Then Endless Ocean Luminous, another brand new game that's in May. By the way, that is published by Nintendo. It's just made by a studio that Nintendo doesn't own, so technically that's part of their first party lineup. And then there's Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, and then Paper Mario Thousand Year Door Remake. So I do think that they're going to continue leaning on these remasters and remakes, as well as third parties. I mean, we just saw that Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase Air that had a bunch of games, yes, but they weren't necessarily, big Nintendo titles that people go into these directs expecting. But having a partner showcase now, that does kind of have people wondering, okay, what exactly is 2024 going to look like? I wouldn't be shocked if we did get that Direct Mini in, say, April, and they announced things like Twilight Princess Wind Waker, that bundle that's been rumored forever, that could be there. Fire Emblem, apparently Nintendo's been sitting on a Fire Emblem game for a little while now. There's Kid Icarus Uprising, they could remaster that. The Metroid Prime 2 and 3 remasters, those have been floating around. I think it'd be fun if they decided to just round out the sports titles completely and have some sort of Mario baseball game there. That could be fun to see how they tackle that. Although I will admit their sports games this generation, with kind of how they drip feed content and stuff, hasn't been the most exciting thing. For me anyway, but I know there is the elephant in the room, and that is Metroid Prime 4. So recently, Jeff Grubb mentioned that he had heard a marketing campaign was planned for May. But with this new information of the next system being pushed into 2025, I'd be concerned that maybe plans would have changed around that marketing campaign that was originally targeting May. It doesn't necessarily mean that Metroid Prime 4 wouldn't come out at the end of this year, but I still think that Metroid Prime 4 is tied in some way to this new system, and might just be a cross-gen release, and would probably be a good way for Retro Studios to show off what this new system could do. Retro's always been really good at getting the most out of any hardware they work on, and I feel like if you open them up to a newer Tegra chip from NVIDIA, the ability to tap things like ray tracing, higher resolution, while they can still produce a version that just won't look as good for the current Switch, if they could show off a definitive Metroid Prime 4 for the new system that shows a sizable jump, I think that'd be the right way to go. And unfortunately, that would mean that, Metroid Prime 4 would probably miss 2024 and wouldn't come out until 2025. Nintendo has mentioned that they are aware of what happened with previous transitions that didn't go according to plan, thinking of the Wii to the Wii U. You could even say the DS to the 3DS that had its own bumps in the road early on. And in fact, neither of those reached anywhere near what the previous generation was able to accomplish. The 3DS selling like half of what the DS sold, and the Wii U versus the Wii, I mean, come on, it was like 15% or something. So if Nintendo is looking at this and keeping all that in mind, momentum being lost going into the next system would be a serious concern, and that's what I'm going to be curious to see how they work to mitigate that going through 2024. You want to launch when the system is ready, but you also don't want to lose that momentum going into the next generation. So as long as they have a strong software lineup for the start of the Switch 2, we'll call it now, but then also some games going into it and it's backwards compatible, I think they'll be just fine. So let me know what you guys think about all of this down below, with the current timeline being reported now as a June reveal of some kind, and then a big blowout in September or October for the next system. But apparently an Indie World in March, and then a Nintendo Direct Mini maybe in April. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.